5 minutes until showtime. Four minutes until showtime. 3 minutes until showtime. 2 minutes until showtime. 1 minute until showtime.
5
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
With Election Day in less than 2 months, what is on the line is not a simple difference of policies, it is the fate of our nation. Judicial activists at all levels have put roadblocks in the way of justice. The 34-time convicted felon will not see a prison cell before Election Day. MAGA activists at state and local levels are working to disenfranchise voters, and foreign governments are paying conservative bloggers to spread their propaganda. On Liberal Dan Radio, we cut through the lies, unwind the spin, and give facts to counter their fiction. Will you do what needs to be done to make sure our nation isn't taken over by an autocratic despot? Or will you sit back and watch as our nation falls to ruin? The clock is ticking. Act now before it's too late. Welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation, it is area code 914-803-4131, 914-803-4131. I'm not sure how much time we'll have for calls today, because this is not going to be a 3-hour show today. I do currently have the New Orleans Saints playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and I normally would probably have just been like, I'm going to watch the football game and maybe do the show later, or maybe just do the show tomorrow, but because today's 10-7, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the anniversary of 10-7 on 10-7, I'm just going to watch the game late. Although I did see the Saints throw a first opening drive interception, so, that might tell me how the game's going to go. Anyway. The life of a New Orleans Saints fan. Yes, Twitch, thank you, Aaron. I always forget to put... See, Twitch doesn't like the Nimbus song. It doesn't like me playing it. It gives me a copyright issue or something, so it mutes it. So I can't run both at the same time, but I often forget to turn Twitch back on once the intro to the show starts. So thank you, Aaron. What would I do without you? Hey, Steve. Good to see you. Steve from across the pond. We've got Chad, Jeff, Josh, Alarasia, Aaron, Botrix. Botrix can't hear me, though. We got everybody coming in so far. We're bringing in, all the good people coming in, and we will talk about the 10-7 probably last, just to give more people time to trickle in. But if you want to support the show, remember to like the stream, subscribe to the channel, share links, share live videos while they're live, share bits and other shorter clips at any time, especially if you think they will do a good job debunking people who are sharing things that, you think are full of BS, and I thoroughly debunk them. Also, I guess if you would like to have me address a topic that needs to be debunked, I'd be more than happy to make a video on that as well. Just let me know. Email me, liberaldanradio@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to push out a video there. Definitely there's going to be a show, normal Twitch stream tomorrow for Nerdy Dan. Definitely a show Wednesday night. Next week's shows are up in the air. We'll just put it that way. We don't know what's going on with it. Don't know with what we're doing. Our kids' school, our oldest kid's school, changed the schedule on us at the last minute. Fortunately, we had not cemented any plans. Next week, my youngest is off of school. We're going to try and make a little mini vacation of things. But we have to see how things go. Plus, as my vacations typically are, they're currently in the path of a hurricane, and so who knows if I actually will be able to go to begin with. So next week's up in the air. anyways, hey, good to see you, Scott. Janelle, who else popped in? CR. Thank you all for joining. Let's see. So, I I don't know. Probably won't subject you to the entirety of this song. Let's just give a little intro to this. I often listen to Jeff Carrera, who's a guy that Hal has criticized of Creek before. He's a local radio show host down here in the city of New Orleans, and I've called into his show lots and lots of times. Often being the sole voice of reason of the people calling into the show, and they do this. They try and do funny bits, and it's really terrible. Like, some of my bits might very well be cheesy as well, sure, but I guarantee you I can put my bits against their bits. And his, conservatives don't know how to be funny, because conservatives only know how to punch down, and punching down is most often, if not always, unfunny. Bethany, hey Bethany, good to see you. Chad asked, do you guys think it's a good or bad idea that Harris is doing interviews this week? I mean, she is doing her part to help out things that are going with the hurricanes that are going on, but she's ultimately not the decision maker when it comes to, actually things getting done. Biden has to be the one to give executive orders for executive order type things. Congress has to be the one to pass additional aid, and all funding bills have to come from the House. So as long as she presides over the Senate like she's supposed to do, I see no problem with her taking the time to do interviews whilst doing all the other things that she's doing in the middle of a campaign. Donald, are you asking the same thing of Donald Trump? Is it a good idea for Donald Trump to be doing large rallies whilst we have the issues of a hurricane from Helene, and then the Milton hurricane coming along to hit Florida as well? I mean, if it's not okay for Vice President Harris to do interviews, and it's not okay, or do campaign activities, then it's not okay for Donald Trump to do it either. And that's unfortunate. See, that's part of the thing that I have, and I've talked about in the show before, ignoring the gender issue for a second. Democrats are required to be perfect, and Republicans are not required to be perfect. If Republicans do things that, lie about things like that the $750 is the only payment that these people who were victims of Hurricane Helene are going to get, lying about dogs and cats being eaten, lying about the Biden administration not helping out Georgia or other states even after Republican governors have clearly stated that the Biden administration has been helpful and been doing all of the things that they're required to do, and then some, to be able to help these states deal with the damages of Hurricane Helene and the impending Hurricane Milton. Republicans can lie about that crap all the time, and everyone just pretty much just like, oh, that's just Republicans being Republicans, and nobody gets all aghast about that. But if Vice President Harris, who's running for president, makes a campaign stop in the middle of in between the two storms, then, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Everyone has questions for whether or not she should be doing this or not. Everybody, basically, again, Democrats are required to be absolutely perfect, and if they're not, they're vilified, while Republicans are shrugged at, and it's like, well, that's just Republicans being Republicans. So Chad, I just meant the fact that she is doing interviews, nothing to do with her work. I meant how she comes across. I think it's reasonable for her to do interviews. I think she should be doing interviews, and I don't think she comes across poorly at all. I think she comes across much better than Donald Trump, who is showing even more significant cases of cognitive decline. There's plenty of examples of it. I mean, what did Donald Trump said that the audience in the debate loved what she said? The audience in the debate with no audience loved what he said, everyone. That's what Donald Trump said. The guy is insane. He's delusional. And this is not the person you want with the finger on the button. Y'all, they wanted to talk. Every Republican accusation is a confession. They tried to paint Joe Biden, President Biden, as being somebody who, has cognitive decline, cognitive disabilities, whatever, mostly because of his stutter, because it's ableist. But Donald Trump shows clear examples of cognitive decline. And they've actually gone on, recently to talk about all the examples of how he swears more, how he uses more negative words than positive words, how he's using, broad terms, not, just kind of like, say everything's great, nothing, whatever. Just, it's kind of his whole thing of, nobody has better things than me. He keeps doing that, keeps going back to that well and trying to get more water from that well that's absolutely dry. He's insane. He is literally insane. He literally has mental issues. He either clearly doesn't know what's going on around him and is just floundering around, or he just feels like he can just lie about everything because, again, nobody really calls him on it because Republicans are never expected to be perfect. Only Democrats are expected to be perfect. So, what's up, Alton Gillespie? Good to see you. Howard Stern interview should be interesting. It should be interesting. It's interesting how Howard Stern went from, Robin, let's look at the woman's boobies, to we're going to interview political stars now and have serious interviews with all these famous people, including the Vice President of the United States. Like, it's crazy how far he's come. So, see, hey, Jeremy, sometimes their down punching is so ridiculous that they parody themselves and it's actually funny in an uncanny valley of irony sort of way. That's a decent point, although it's just but when it gets too bad, it just becomes cringe. And that is also problematic. Let's see. Most Republicans lie anymore. Howard Stern is Josh Hawley ad TV right now. He's claiming his opponent of doing everything he does. Of course he does, because every Republican accusation is a confession. Trump, to be fair, meant TV audience. That's the thing. What I've been fair to Trump before as well, mind you. But I don't know if I really believe that he really meant the TV audience. Because the common defense, I'm not saying you're doing this, Tim, but the common defense is Trump didn't say it. If he did it, he meant it. You took it out of context. If he didn't take it out of context, he was joking. If he's not really joking, this is why it's not that bad anyway. And then whataboutism. That's the formula. But I don't know if I believe that Trump really meant the TV audience. And how would he know what the TV audience thought? Because you couldn't see them. Or maybe he did think he could see them and hear them, and that's part of the problem. Let's see. Hey, Roxanne, good to see you. Hey, Robert Reynolds. Have a good evening yourself. Thank you for stopping by. Remember to smash the like button on the way out. Doing phone banking from Vermont for the Harris campaign. They are very worried about Pennsylvania. Well, we should all be very worried about Pennsylvania. We should all be very worried about every state that matters. I know Jolie says all states should matter, but every state that is within reach of Vice President Harris winning, that's a swing state, and maybe ones that weren't formerly swing states that might be a swing state now, we absolutely need to worry about it. We absolutely need to get the vote out because people are freaking stupid. Thinking that Donald Trump is going to be at all. Like there was something on today where they were talking about people have the opinion that Donald Trump is going to be better for them on the economy. That's not the case. Donald Trump is absolutely not going to be better for them on the economy. Donald Trump, he doesn't care about workers. He doesn't care about labor. He doesn't care about blue collar workers. He'll claim to, but he only cares about himself and what he can do. And anything that benefits anybody else is just a coincidence. It's not purposeful. Right now, polls are not good for Harris in Arizona, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. Biden won all three. I don't know. Is that right? Because the other day, everyone showed even polls. So polls are going to fluctuate. And yeah, Biden was doing better in 2020 polls, sure. And that's another problem, is that people seem to forget that, the shit show that was the Trump administration. But furthermore, one thing that these polls don't take into consideration are the youth vote, who may very well come out in droves, especially because of Roe v. Wade and Dobbs v. Jackson and all of the stupid issues of the Supreme Court. Let's talk about that for a second, because we do want to talk about that for a second. Switch that before we swing right back. So, according to SCOTUS blog, after granting 15 cases from the Justices' Long Conference last week, Supreme Court denied more than 1,000 petitions for review, and among those were the requests from the Biden administration to send a dispute over EMTALA, the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, back to the lower courts for another look. Federal law requires emergency rooms in hospitals that receive Medicaid funding to provide stabilizing treatment to patients who arrive with an emergency condition that seriously threatens their lives or health. The law supersedes state laws when they directly conflict with EMTALA, such as the Biden administration's laws restricting abortion care. The court dealt with similar cases out of Idaho in June without reaching a conclusive decision on the federal law. So the court's denial leaves in place a lower court ruling, i.e. the Fifth Circuit probably, but the question at the center of the case remains unresolved nationally. There was a challenge by Texas and two medical groups issued by the Department of Health and Human Services to remind hospitals that in some cases EMTALA may require hospitals to provide abortions to save a pregnant woman's life or serious harm to their health, even if state law would otherwise prohibit the abortion. U.S. Court of Appeals for Fifth Circuit, as I said, disagreed and prohibited the federal government from enforcing the guidance against Texas. After the Supreme Court's decision in late June dismissing the pair of cases from Idaho, U.S. Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar asked the justices to send the Texas case back for a new look. She cited not only Idaho, but also the challenger's suggestion that there's no conflict between EMTALA and Texas law, and the Supreme Court's recent ruling in a case involving medication abortion, which she wrote, makes clear that the members of medical groups challenging the law cannot be required to terminate a pregnancy against their conscience, but the justices turned down the plea without explanation. Which of course sucks, because one would think that if any of these cases that they denied, this probably would be the case that would need an explanation. So what do you do then? I mean, basically what the Supreme Court has basically done, what the activist Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has recently done, and they used to be the most overturned of the circuits because they're so hyper-aggressively conservative, it's ridiculous. But they've basically said, hey, you can't enforce these EMTALA provisions on Texas. So now Texas does not have to give life-saving procedures to people facing pregnancy issues. And in some cases, those issues are, you need to terminate the pregnancy, because if you don't, the person is going to suffer long-term heart damage, long-term other bodily damage, long-term damage to their organs, or let alone sepsis and or death. Like in the case of Kate Cox, she would have suffered from sepsis. She would have lost fertility if allowed to have gone further. Fortunately, she was able to leave the state and get abortion care somewhere else, despite the fact that this is a futile pregnancy. There was no chance for this fetus to survive, and they were basically going to say, you're going to be required to take on permanent injury in order for us to follow the law. And now, no case where a patient is, potentially suffering at a risk to their health is now going to be allowed by the Texas AG, Ken Paxton, and the other parts of Texas government, who are going to come in and stop abortions from taking place at all, pretty much, unless they narrowly meet the definition of what is allowed by Texas law, but the Texas law is so vague that the doctors can't really know whether or not they should act or not. And when the doctors and hospitals and Kate Cox herself went to go to the courts and say, hey, we think that this is a situation where the law should allow an abortion to take place, Attorney General Paxton said, no, we're going to come after you. And the Supreme Court lied in their ruling. And then they said, no, you shouldn't have to come to the courts. You should be able to do it. But who's going to do it if there's no clear guidance as to what procedures are allowed or not allowed, risking their own lives and livelihoods and their freedom? It's not going to happen. And because it's so poorly worded, it leaves such vagaries in the air that more and more people who are pregnant in Texas are going to face permanent health risks or death simply because these people don't understand science and want to protect a dying fetus from being, put out of its misery. If there's probably even no misery, but allowing the doctors to go in and do what appropriate medical care should be done. And this is to ignore the other cases where you have clear risk to the patient, but the risk to the patient is not immediate. Therefore, the doctors can't act, even though the doctors know that if you allow this pregnancy to go on and allow the individual to gestate for a certain amount of time longer than what they are now, you're going to end up having that person deal with major issues, major cardiac issues, etc. These doctors know if you have this particular set of conditions, pregnancy should not be an option for you, and you need to eliminate the pregnancy immediately. But yet, the Texas legislature and governor and attorney general think they all know better than doctors, which is just another reason why we cannot allow Donald Trump to win this fall, because we can't allow any more of this to happen. We can't allow Donald Trump to name any more Supreme Court justices. We can't allow Donald Trump to name any more lower court justices. And we can't allow the Republicans to gain power anywhere in this country, because more and more people are going to be put at risk because of their ridiculous policies on abortion and other things that are going to cause more harm to people as well. So, again, what do you think about this video? Agree, disagree? Remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and have a good day. Anyway, I was recording that just to make sure that I could just upload that little small portion of the show as a clip, or as a show clip, because it should be separate from everything else. Although we are, let's see, as an outsider, I get if you think I don't count, but I have a feeling history will record 2015 until the biggest cult event off of our time. Absolutely, 100%. I mean, we've gone full-on cult crazy. Jan Morgan, a lot of sane washing incoming. RE billionaires for Orange Mussolini. That's a term I had not heard, I think, until today. The term sane washing, i.e., people who are deciding that they don't want to cover the president's ridiculousness, his idiocy, his horribleness, by not covering it, or by covering it, they say we're not going to cover it because we don't want to give him any credence. We don't want to allow our airwaves to be used to spread this drivel. However, if you don't cover it, then you don't shine a light on it. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Put sunlight on all of his crazy. Yeah, some people are going to hear it on your station and be like, "Yeah, that's great." Like one of my upcoming videos for the case against Donald Trump that I'm going to be pushing out soon is one about his bigotry, racism, xenophobia, anti-Semitism. And I full well understand when I make this video, there are going to be people who watch that video and be like, "Thank you for convincing me to vote for Donald Trump." Or most likely these people are already going to vote for Donald Trump, and it's just another thing reinforcing that choice. But that's not the point. The point isn't you don't worry about the cult people who are always going to vote for him no matter what. If they hear that he's more crazy, they were still already voting for him because they're crazy too. But you need to show the other people, the persuadables, people who have an open mind and can be persuaded with the right evidence. You need to show them all the evidence. If you're going to make a case against Donald Trump, you need to give the whole case. You can't leave out bits and pieces because you're afraid of people might hear it and be like, oh, that's a good idea. No, those people are already going to think his stupid ideas are good ideas, and it doesn't take... No amount of additional information is going to make them vote for him harder because they're already voting. So we absolutely need to use as much sunlight as possible to expose him and his insanity and his stupidity and his bigotry to everybody so they know. I mean, some people are just not reachable. If you look at Liberal Dan Radio on Facebook, not Liberal Dan on Facebook, but Liberal Dan Radio on Facebook. I have two, might be a little confusing, but because I started off just doing Liberal Dan and I decided that I should have everything named the same as much as possible. I took a screenshot of a conversation I was having with somebody, and this guy, the person whose post it was on, he's a Black Trump supporter, and I mean, I know they exist, but voting against your best interest. And he was trying to make the argument, oh, Donald Trump once got an award with Rosa Parks, therefore he's not racist or something. And I'm like, racists can do many things that one might think look good that doesn't fix the issues of racism. And I use as an example that there were Jews, and people often vote against their best interest. For example, there were Jewish people who voted against Adolf Hitler because even though he was clearly anti-Semitic, and he was saying anti-Semitic things. And somebody came along to the thread who was, I guess, a friend of this guy, and she was like, Hitler never said anything that's anti-Semitic. Excuse me? Trying to convince me he was all just anti-communism. It wasn't anti-Semitism, it was anti-communism, and the Jews he didn't like were the ones who were communists, supposedly. And I was like, no. Here's a link to an article showing one of his first public statements against Jews in 1919. Here we go. He's anti-Semitic. And Facebook immediately took down the comment because I was spreading hate. Now, to their credit, I immediately, complained about it to Facebook, and shockingly, they restored the post. They restored my comment because they understood, oh, this is the real context of the comment that you made. Our AI didn't quite understand it well enough. Well, duh, your AI is stupid. But, yeah, the idea that I was somehow spreading bigotry because I was trying to teach somebody about, how the mustachioed man didn't like Jews from day one, and this person still doesn't agree with it. But, as Trump says, it is what it is. I'm not playing the clip right now because I have the other one loaded up to play. We're going to get back to anti-Semitism and Israel and Hamas and 10-7 in a second. Communists were mostly anti-Semitic as well. Yeah, I mean, and Russia had all the pogroms against the Jews. So all of the people who were trying to, push communism in Russia are people who hated Jews. But again, you could easily, this is what Hitler did, and this is what Donald Trump, why I always say that Donald Trump is following Hitler's playbook, because he takes a group, he scapegoats them into something that they're not. So, communists are supposed to have no religion. There's that as well, but, a lot of people will claim atheist Jews because Judaism is more than just a religion to a lot of people. Judaism, Hitler described it as a race. There are some aspects of Judaism that act kind of racial, sort of, because of the automatic inheritance of Judaism via the mother. But, Like, I'm not practicing, but Nazis would kill me just the same. So many communists oddly did help Jews. They were not as extreme as Nazis toward Jews, though there were plenty of anti-Semitism from the... yeah, and that's another thing. Another point I tried to make is that bigotry is not just on or off. It's either, you fit all of the ways to be bigoted, or you fit none of them. That's not how it works. There are people in, what I like to call something Boston racism. What is Boston racism? This is to say that everybody in Boston is racist. But Boston racism, for example, would be, somebody might work with a black coworker. They might hang out with him after work, have a beer, shoot pool, go to the Celtics game, go to the Patriots game. They might do all of these things with their black coworkers and hang out with them and love to hang out with them and can even consider them a friend, maybe. But if their daughter came home dating a black guy, they'd still pitch a fit. Because you don't have to fit. There's not one way to be a bigot. There's not one way to be a racist. There's all sorts of different ways to spread your hatred of other people. And some people go full on Nazi. Some people, just believe certain things and, might be like, I don't have a problem with Jews, but I'm still going to perpetuate the idea that they're all good with money, or we're all good with money. That's anti-Semitism too. And Donald Trump did that. Donald Trump did that when he said that he didn't want black people looking after his books. He only wanted the people with yarmulkes looking after his books. That's anti-Semitism. Simple as that. MJ Daniel, the GOP and MAGA playbook is straight out of 1920s and 30s Germany and Italy. I mean, I've been saying that since 2015, 2016. I've been saying that for a very long time, and people call me stupid and paranoid and crazy and all that other stuff. All right, now, y'all, take it a little bit easy on Chad. While I disagree with Chad on a lot of things, Chad still often supports the channel and I think is often reasonable, even if you, as an individual, even if we disagree with him on the opinions. So just want to put that out there. Things are treading into the whole, Chad is X, Chad is Y, Chad is a troll or whatever. Just leave it, attack what he says, don't attack him. Simple as that. Easy never. He did not even know the name for the hats, despite knowing lots of Jews. Well, I mean, there's plenty of names for the yarmulkes, kippas, the hat, etc. So, I mean, he's supported the channel before Ichabod. He's gifted memberships. He's done super chats and super stickers. He does support the show. So I'm very appreciative of the fact that he supports the show. I wish he would change his mind on a few political things. And I have no problem with you criticizing the political points that he makes, just like I was criticizing the political point he made earlier. But I didn't attack him as a person, because that's how we're supposed to do things. But again, I guess I'm being a little guilty myself of expecting people to be perfect while conservatives are not expected to be perfect. So, I'm not talking about Chad in this instance, but I want this chat to be an elevated type of thing. And look, if someone says something stupid, attack the stupid thing that they said. Don't call the other person stupid. So, and hey, Orville B, thank you for joining us over on Twitch. I did see you earlier. I was just in the middle of my rant. So, that's how it be. Easy E Network. I have made bad comments that probably do pervade stereotypes. How would you suggest I get over doing that? I would have to know what the comment is on how to get over it. Let me talk about this. I mentioned this on another Facebook post that I made, and just having a conversation about things. And I didn't necessarily go into my details per se on this post, because I didn't want the toxic a-holes knowing all about me. They have to work a little harder than that if they want to find out about why I was actually saying these things. But as somebody who is an obese person myself, I always thought that, if I make fat jokes against other people, then I'm not necessarily punching down because I'm also fat. I'm punching sideways. Right? So it's okay for me to say these things and to make fat jokes, I thought at the time, because, well, if it's coming from a fat person, therefore it should be not as harmful or not harmful at all, because, again, it's coming from a fat person. It's not coming from somebody who's skinny. Right? But then I was at Louisiana Public Health Institute. I was working there. Once a month, they gave their little spiels on certain things that they're working on. And one of the people who was giving a presentation gave the presentation on how there's a high correlation between people who've been abused as children and who are now obese or even morbidly obese in adulthood. And that kind of flipped a switch in my head, which was, if you're mocking somebody for being obese, and again, I've talked about the abuse I suffered as a kid on the show already, so there's that, which explained a lot of things. And it was very hard for me to maintain my composure until after I got back to my office. And thankfully, I had a door that locked at the time, my own private little office, because I was not in the mood to see or hear everybody after I got back to my office after hearing that, because it hit me hard. But at that point, I also realized that, despite the fact that I'm a big fat man or whatever, and I'm obese, morbidly obese or whatever, I fit those categories. Besides those facts, and I like to joke around about me having a thick skin, literally and proverbially. But I realize that if I'm making fun of somebody for being obese, that my obesity doesn't change what trauma they may have gone through. So I stopped making fun of people who are obese. Because to me, it was like, well, it doesn't matter if I'm obese. It doesn't matter what I've gone through. They might have gone through it as well, and they might not deal with it as good as I am, and I don't want to be mocking somebody. So that's kind of how I stopped doing that. Now, I don't know if it applies to your situation. I'll go back and read through the chat again, just to catch back up. But that's just kind of the way that I've changed my mind on from telling myself it's okay to say certain things to not saying certain things, even when it's like somebody who is a vile, hateful human being, like Donald Trump. I'm not going to be somebody who's going to mock his weight, because there are other things that may very well that should be mocked, i.e. his psychopathy, his horribleness, his racism, his bigotry, whatever. Attack those things, and because I don't even care necessarily about if Donald Trump gets his feelings hurt, but if somebody else hears me making those type of comments, they're going to be like, oh well, he's being, if he's going to be shitty towards that person, he might be shitty towards me as well. So that's kind of my point. Money does not mean chat is best for the chat. I didn't say that it does. I've booted people from the chat who were show supporters, and I refunded their money as much as possible. It's happened at least once before. So there's that. Josh, you're just a big dude. I'm way more than just a big dude. Let's see. Easy Network, Jews and money. I hate to admit I like Jews, but I think family members don't like Jews like I do. I like the faith in Israelis. That's the thing. It's like you just got to realize that by perpetuating stereotypes, that even if sometimes people think that those stereotypes might be like, oh, well, good, that person might like being told that they're, have this sort of seemingly positive stereotype, but especially about things with with Jews and money, as we've discussed on the show before, there is a long historical trope of Jews being the fact that Jews were supposedly good with money. The only reason that Jews were, labeled as the money lenders is simply because of the fact that we were the only ones who could lend money, because under the Christian law you couldn't charge interest. So nobody would want to lend money because if you can't charge another Christian interest, but a Jewish person could, so you could take a loan out from a Jewish person, and there you go. Jewish person wants to make business by lending money to other people, so they charge interest. They want to make a living, so they make a little profit from whatever, because they're the only ones who are allowed to do it. And then people look poorly on Jews because, well, now you're the moneylenders, but y'all made us the moneylenders. Society made us the moneylenders, and then they attacked us for what the role that they forced us into. So, and then those things then perpetuate other, international banking. We've heard other people call into the show, Gibson, talking about international bankers and the Rothschilds and money lending folks or whatever, and making those generalized stereotypes, which basically just code for the Jews are bad people, as they would say. So that's why it's important to not perpetuate those sorts of stereotypes. So, see, independents, I'm a Democrat who respects people who are not either Democratic or Republican, especially since I don't agree with everything the party does. I agree with you there. Jeff, everyone has an opinion. Jad has his. I respect that. I've never been offended. It's a waste of time. It's embarrassed once in October 1991 for about 10 seconds. What were you embarrassed about in October 1991 for about 10 seconds? Please share. We want to know the details. Yes, and as Pam says over in Twitch, and they were run out of the city and eliminated their debt. They were scapegoated, exactly. And that's the history of Jews. You take all of the problems that you have, you push them onto the scapegoat, and then you kick the scapegoat out of town, or worse. So it goes back to Babylon when Jewish people became involved in finance and banking. Well, again, because people, they were the only ones who could loan money. So Josh, 100% no. I've been accused of being MAGA once. I answered an easy question: if you're a Brit. Nice. Hey, it's Impeccable Living. I think I have a sound that I might want to play for Impeccable Living anytime he says something. I've had this on my soundboard for whatever, but if Impeccable Living talks about any grinder date, I may just have to bring up.
Oh my!
There you go. So, no, what did I do?
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio.
I screwed up. I hung up inadvertently. Hilarious.
To start your show now, press 1. To hear important instructions, press 2.
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
Thank you. British voice for Blog Talk Radio. Talk from the Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right. I don't know, for some reason it hung up on me. That's very weird. That's very stupid. Speaking of stupid. Steve, hey, set your phasers to stunning. It's Impeccable Living. Nice. Good. Set your phasers to stunning with my George Takei oh my thing. What's up, witchy woman? Good to see you. You might hate me for a second. Before we get into the 10-7 conversation, back in New Orleans was like was the first city, I think, that started taking down Confederate monuments. Or if we weren't the first, we were one of the first, and we made the most impact with it. There was, taking down the Jefferson Davis Monument. There was taking down the Lee Circle Monument, taking down the statue of Jefferson Beauregard, whatever. So we made a name for ourselves for taking down these monuments, and we had stupid, idiot, Boogaloo Boy, Proud Boy, Nazi, racist, or whatever coming down and protest in the city because they didn't like the fact that we were taking down their participation trophies. So the Jeff on his show will sometimes talk. There's an organization that's set up. It's called like the Monumental something, whatever. And it's basically what they do is they try and collect donations to be able to clean and preserve all of the historical monuments, but most likely specifically the ones pertaining to the Confederacy that, should be taken down, because the reason that those statues were put up there was simply because of the fact they wanted to shove it in the faces of black citizens. Hey, these are the people that enslaved you, haha, that sort of thing. So before this person from this monumental task force came on, Jeff starts playing this song, I guess, that they came up with back in the day when Mitch Landrieu was still mayor of Louisiana, mayor of New Orleans, when he was the one behind taking down a lot of these statues to begin with. And so they started playing this song as I was driving my son to school, and oh my God, it's terrible. It's another reason why the right can't meme, the right can't joke, the right can't do anything funny. They probably think this is hyper clever, but I had to listen to it for a little bit, so I'm going to play it for y'all. I probably won't play the full minute and 48 seconds, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, without further ado, here is this. Exactly, Whisper Racing. Confederate statues are participation trophies. I thought they didn't like participation trophies. Well, that's why we call them participation trophies, to try and stick it to them, basically say this is all. That's all these are. Yay! You're putting up a statue to the losers of the war. Good job. Anyway, here we go. Here's the song that I've labeled Stupid Mitch Monument Song on my soundboard.
Do you hear the people singing the songs of angry men? It is the music of a people who will not trust Mitch again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, will our history be gone when tomorrow comes? Will you join in our crusade? Who'll be strong and stand with me? Beyond the barricade there is a statue you should see. So join in the fight to save all history. Do you hear the people sing the songs of angry men? It is the music.
All right, that's all I could play. I can't even handle much more of it. Once they started with the backup singers, do you hear the like, oh my God, why is that so terrible? Why are they so bad at this? Like, oh, terrible. Yeah, exactly. Terrible. So I'm not subjecting any more of that to y'all, because I like y'all too much to subject you to the whole song. I had to listen to the whole song. But holy crap, that is just terrible. Who told them that was a good idea and they should be fired? Oh, Fatherland, Fatherland, show us the sign your children have waited to see, from Cabaret. Hell, they should have started singing Springtime for Hitler. Springtime for Hitler and Germany. Dun, 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 dun. The Rhineland's a fine land again. Anyway, is any of this surprising when a movie like Birth of a Nation was such a great success just 100 years ago? No, it's not. I mean, it's really not. There are people who, when they call themselves American patriots, deep down, they really believe themselves to be Confederate States of America patriots. So, wait, Bert Convey, what? Was it Bert? What are you saying? Was that Bobby Sherman or Bert? I don't even know who it was. I think it was just some local singer and some local backup singers hired to sing horribly about a song about Mitch Landrieu taking down the monuments. That's all I think that was. Gay boredom. Is that what you think that song was? Gay boredom? And why was it recorded on an 1960s 8-track? That's the other thing. Like, it actually sounded a little better going over the air, but I don't know, it's saved terribly. Like, it's not just the normal Blog Talk Radio not playing the music at a high fidelity, that sometimes they don't play the songs with high fidelity, which sometimes when we play Hypocrite of the Week just directly from my computer, it sounds better to y'all if you were watching on YouTube and Twitch, but if you happen to be listening on Blog Talk Radio, you won't hear anything. So when will they get their cease and desist letter? What, the for the people with the song, or what? That's like the old animated Hobbit soundtrack. Racist with horrible singing voices. If you listen to Hitler, he actually had a pleasant, normal voice and elevated his voice for speeches. Trump's voice is just annoying. I have the best voice. Nobody has a better voice than me. Nobody's better. See, now that I'm utilizing the search function for my audio, I just have to type in what I want. I guess after using Blog Talk Radio for almost 13 years, I finally started using the search function for the sound bits.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Anybody here see the guy Robbie Roadsteamer? He dresses like Q Shaman and goes to Trump things with a bullhorn. No, but it's awesome. So you need to upgrade to something with one of them super heterodynes in it that Dr. DeForest patented back then. Nice. Henry Ford was extremely anti-Semitic, so was Lindbergh. Yes, they were. Anyway. So, let's go ahead. We've done this 50 minutes. You know, let's go ahead and talk about our change the let's see, I think of as all of my emotions as gay first. Nice. Wait. Hold on. That needs another.
Oh my.
Yes. So, thank you, George. Should be able to have all of these pop up, just be able to have like my greatest hits, just rename all my audios to the ones I always use and have that be the end of it. Anyway. Let's see. I get the cringes every time I hear best ever or anything like that. Donald Trump says it so much. And I don't understand why it still works. That's the thing. Like, the fact that he keeps going to that well and he keeps repeating that same thing over and over again. It's like, okay, you've used this one. Come up with something new and creative. But I have the best whatever. Nobody has the best whatever. So, see, tipping started the Pullman cars for trains, a product of massive racism. We don't want to tip the Pullman cars and they fall over, right? Ba-dum-bum. Anyway, yes, George Takei is great. And actually, I don't even need him to I don't even need the clip. I can just go, oh my, and close enough. So, but I like giving George his credence.
Oh my.
There you go. So, and he's so attractive, gack. Yeah, thank you, Pam. Anyway, so October 7th, this is, again, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the October 7th attacks from last year. And so we're going to start talking about the October 7th attacks now because, well, there's been so much. It's been a year and things still need to be talked about and reminded of. You know, there are people who will try and make the argument that, well, Israel shouldn't exist, so therefore they don't have a problem with Hamas did. Well, even if you think that Israel shouldn't exist, the problem with that is that, you know, two wrongs don't make a right. So even if it's wrong that Israel exists, attacking 1,200 innocent people, murdering 1,200 innocent people, sexually assaulting some, kidnapping 200-300 others, that's not okay. And for whatever problems you may have with the Israeli government and the actions of the state of Israel, it doesn't justify those actions that Hamas did. Just like Hamas's actions don't justify all of the ways in which Benjamin Netanyahu reacted to the attacks on 10/7 1 year ago. Because, again, as Vice President Harris said, I think she says it very well, much better, I think, than even, Biden was saying it, which was Israel has the right to defend itself, but how it defends itself matters. So you can do certain activities that are kosher, so to speak, but there are certain activities that should not be considered kosher, or as non-kosher in Jewish in Hebrew would be treif. So you can't just justify any action just because you were wronged. Just like Hamas can't justify every action that they've done because they feel that the Palestinians are wrong. Of course, the Hamas is simply going to use the plight of the Palestinian people that they help to perpetuate as an excuse to do whatever it is they want to do, and because they know there are plenty of people in the world who will believe that there's no problem with, them doing what they want to do. Because again, a lot of what happens in the Israeli-Palestinian discussion, a lot of what happens against Israel is anti-Semitic. It doesn't mean you have to be anti-Semitic to be against the actions of Israel. I'm just saying, as I've said before on the show, unless you're educated on the subject, there's a lot of people who are incapable of making the point criticizing Israel without being anti-Semitic. So, but then you have other, you have Hezbollah attacking Israel as well. You have Iran attacking Israel as well. Israel is facing a many-pronged fight. And Israel, again, should have the ability to defend itself, but how Israel defends itself matters. Going after, Hezbollah, good. I have no problem with that. Bombing all willy-nilly in Gaza, I have a big problem with that. You're putting innocent lives of innocent Palestinians at risk. You're putting the hostages at risk by bombing all willy-nilly like that. I mean, if you watched MSNBC today, there was a woman whose cousin and kids were kidnapped on 10/7, and that's the two youngest kidnapping victims. And there's no evidence, there's no proof of life there, but there's also no proof that they've not alive. So they're still holding out hope for it. But I mean, it was hard to watch that and not just start bawling because of the fact that, these are people. There are plenty of Israelis who want to live and coexist. They want to live peacefully as a two-state solution. Of course, Benjamin Netanyahu and other hardline right-wing Israeli politicians do not want a two-state solution. They believe they have a right to everything, just like Hamas believes that it has the right to everything, quote, from the river to the sea. Israel rarely did an indiscriminate bombing before 10/7, but Israel had other issues before 10/7 in things that it does, supporting, for example, the settlers and the settlements in the West Bank. There's plenty of stuff that Benjamin Netanyahu had done prior to 10/7 that were bad for the Palestinian people in and of itself. So it doesn't justify the actions of Hamas and going after 1,200 innocent civilians. But, trying to think. Israel had killed a lot of journalists before 10/7, though. I have to fact check that. Netanyahu is not a good man, which is why many American Jews hate him. Me being one of them, I have not liked Benjamin Netanyahu for a very long time. 10/7 didn't cause me to start hating Benjamin Netanyahu. I refuse to call him Bibi because it's stupid. Calling him, I think the attempt to call him Bibi is an attempt to make him seem like he's less harmful. No, F that. Netanyahu is a terrible, shitty human being, and he should be dragged in front of the Hague for things done before 10/7 and things done after 10/7. That being said, the fact that the Netanyahu administration knew that the attacks were incoming and didn't do anything to stop them ahead of time is also very problematic, which is why I've said on this show many times that not only does Netanyahu have the blood of innocent Palestinians on his hands, Netanyahu has the blood of innocent Israelis on his hands too. because to me, Netanyahu, if he would have stopped the attack from happening in the first place, it would have prevented a lot of death. But Netanyahu was like, no, let's let them attack. It's my opinion that there's no actual evidence that Netanyahu said these words, but they knew it was happening and they didn't stop it. So what am I supposed to think? Let him attack, and then if we're able to deal with it afterwards, it'll be good for his polling numbers. It'll be good for his it'll be good for him in his attempts to try and circumvent the legal trouble that he's in. All that stuff. Of course, is there any way for them to have known that it was going to be that many people who died? I don't know, but that's the risk you take by allowing an attack to go forward instead of stopping it, nipping it in the bud, so to speak. So, impeccable living. Who likes Benjamin Netanyahu? He's a monster. Donald Trump, for one. Lots of conservatives. There are conservative Jews who have no problem with it whatsoever. T.O. Show Live, Benjamin is a criminal. Yep, end of sentence. Exactly. T.O. Show Live, thanks Orange Man for October 7th. Hamas are terrorists, but said moving the shit was terror catalyst, but as the Middle East until the religion is changed to just a few, like the 20%, then the battles have been going on for 6,000 years will continue. Well, the problem also with that T.O. Show Live is that Donald Trump was responsible in part for 10/7 as well, because in 2017 Israel got pissed off at Donald Trump. At least the intelligence community did get pissed off at Donald Trump because Donald Trump got intelligence from Israel. Donald Trump then chose to share that intelligence with Russia. What intelligence did all that entail? Do we know everything that it entailed? No. But is it any surprise that Hamas was able to circumvent Israeli defenses after Donald Trump gave them the information, secret intelligence, gave it to Russia. Russia gave it to Iran. Iran gave it to Hamas, and then Hamas used it to attack. And folks like Tom Hartman and other folks have gone through and done the legwork on this one, so I didn't bother trying to go dig down, because there are already plenty of people like Tom Hartman, like other folks, who have said these specific things, who have basically shown that Donald Trump is responsible for leaking Israeli intelligence to Russia. Russia's allied with Iran, especially because Iran could give Russia, I guess, weapons they could use in their illegal invasion and occupation of Ukraine. And then Iran, now that they have the information from the Israeli intelligence, now they can pass it on to Hamas, so Hamas can do their attacks. Of course, funded by Iran, because that's what Iran does. Iran funds lots of terrorist organizations with the specific intent of driving every Jewish person into the sea. So, Putin, I'm sure, likes him, or at least what he's doing with Gaza. Yeah, I've said that on the show that I don't know if Putin specifically likes Netanyahu, but I think Putin likes the fact that Hamas attacked and that Israel counterattacked, so that it could take the world's attention off of Putin's invasion of Ukraine. That's why Putin loves what's going on, and he's going to want to continue. Putin probably would very much prefer, both sides to take each other out, and that way, he kills lots of birds with one stone. So I love BB, but it means something very different in the gay community, witchy woman.
Oh my.
Had to do it, sorry. Yes, from Game of Thrones, chaos is a ladder. And I've actually will use the comment when people are promoting things. I'll be like, chaos is not a ladder. Because I don't want to act like Littlefinger. But I was thinking of a similar line said by Varys in Game of Thrones about Donald Trump, that Donald Trump has done so many things in this, he tried to, stop the border law from passing, and he got it done. He got the border law to be blocked by the House Republicans. He lies about whatever aid that these people are getting, despite how many people it misinforms or pisses off or whatever, and riles up to do whatever. He encourages people to go attack the Capitol, even though he tries to claim that he didn't. Basically, Donald Trump would see it all burn so he could rule over the ashes. That's Donald Trump. What's up, Hunger Greeter TK? What's up, Teresa? Good to see you. See, we are now in the world is really sad commentary after all that has happened over the past 124 years. Well, yeah. Oh, let's see. Is this Brother Michael from overseas? What's going on?
Yes, my dear friend. Shalom, Dan.
Shalom,
and
Chaver.
to your listeners as well too. Today, it's still Israel is recovering from what has happened last year on October 7th. Our brothers and sisters, the Jewish people around the globe,
I seem to have lost you. Oh, hold on. Wait a second. My things went off. So you can hear me, but they can't. Okay, talk again.
Okay.
There you go. Go ahead.
Okay.
Now they can hear you again.
Can you hear me, my friend?
Yeah, I could hear you, but my problem is my headphones, my earbuds turned off, and that made it so that the people on YouTube and Twitch couldn't hear you. Go ahead. You're good now.
Okay. Yes. Our shalom to all our Jewish friends around the globe and Israel, and we give our condolences on the almost a year and 1 day after the attack of the Hamas, which was staged by a terrorist government of Ayatollahs in Iran. And we thank Bibi Netanyahu and His Excellency and for killing the Hassan Nasrallah and all those on the chain of members. So therefore, we cannot wait that Israeli response to the Ayatollahs would be harsh, and whatever it is, we support Israel because Israel and Iranian people are friends with each other, because we know whatever Israel is going to do is going to help Iranian to remove this terrorist government in the world and to help unity and peace come back to Middle East one more time, because the Iranians are sick and tired paying taxes, and all their taxes, everything is going to be built, hospitals, best hospitals in Beirut, best hospital in Gaza, schools, colleges, universities, but in Iran, there's not much university buildings or anything for the people of Iran. So, so basically, and I have emergency news for you, only for you, my buddy. There, okay. You see, there was an explosion, very bad in desert part of Iran, and what has happened? Either Ayatollahs, they had a test atom bomb, or it was one of their bunkers that they keep missiles and ammunitions and all planes and missiles, etc. There, it was sabotaged by Israel, and that explosion, it was equivalent to close to 4.6. So either Ayatollahs did an atomic test, and only Gulf newspapers, they pick it up. Al Jazeera news agency cover it, but
I see India Today also covered it. India Today seems to have it covered. They're talking about on October 5th that there was an earthquake in the Iranian desert that sparked speculation that Iran had tested a nuclear bomb. So yeah, so I can confirm that India.
So we are in the.
Yeah, India Today is also reporting that they measured an earthquake measuring 4.4 on the Richter scale, but they're questioning whether or not it was actual earthquake or if it was a nuclear test, which some people have said that they could be as close as 2 to 3 weeks away from doing it. So.
And actually, yeah, Iran already has atom bombs because October 1st arrived, and also Russia sent Iskander missiles, and most possibility is already has atomic warhead on it to Tehran airport a while back ago. Actually, it was a story a couple of weeks ago. So so it's very possibility, but I say that because of Israel says we are going to give you back one of the biggest surprises, and it's still coming. This is maybe one. I think they sabotaged the underground tunnels that they had, one of them, and pretty much all the missiles, anything was inside it was exploded and created a 4.6 range earthquake. What do you think, sir?
I think what you're saying has a lot of potential, there to be true. I mean, you've been right about a couple of things already on the things you've called into the show about, so I'm not going to question you. I think with all of the things that you said, though, the one thing that I'll only disagree with is that I while I support the right of the state of Israel to defend itself against terrorists, and I have no weeps and there's no tears in my eyes whenever the head of Hezbollah, or the Hamas leaders or Hamas fighters are put in the dirt, so to speak. I'm still not going to sit here and praise Netanyahu because I think he bears a lot of responsibility for what happened, including allowing it to happen in the first place, because intelligence was reported that they had the intelligence that the attack was coming and they did nothing to stop it. So if they would have stopped it ahead of if they would have stopped it ahead of time, less blood would be on his hands and less people would have died. And but again, he wouldn't get to make a big dog and pony show about it just to be able to make it so that he doesn't go to prison. So.
Right. No, after the Hassan Nasrallah was killed, Iranians inside Iran, 90% of them went to the roof of their houses or apartments, or even opened the door like, I am mad as the hell, I cannot take it anymore. Iranian, I saw that movie many times, Network. And so they learned from it, and they opened the door and said that to Khamenei, that to IRGC, and we don't want you, leave Iran now. So I think that's what I was going to say about it. They praised it. Iranian inside Iran, they praised Hassan Nasrallah and all of Ghani, Hani. Hani actually was $10 million was the bounty on his head, and because of you remember Saudi Arabia. He was the master plan for the attack on our beloved soldiers in Saudi Arabia, and around 400 people died or injured. And then it was Beirut, around when Ronald Reagan was in charge. And Hani also did a massive attack on our beloved soldiers, and there was many people died or injured. But so FBI put a bounty on his head for $10 million. And so I guess Israel is cashing it now. So, I mean, we are happy about that they killed these bad people, and are fighting actually for us, because if they succeed, then United States will be safer place, because right now we see that how many of demonstrations in New York, Los Angeles, and many other big cities happening, and these people they cover themselves like they think they're in Beirut, and then they support of Hezbollah, Hamas, and Houthis. So basically, this is incredible. I mean, we cannot take that, because these people will come in future and conquer United States, and they will take over, and we don't want that. So whatever Israel is doing actually is helping us down the future. Go ahead, please.
I mean, I agree that, if Israel taking out, prime members that of Iran and Iran allies is definitely a good thing for the Iranian people, so that's good. I do want to move on a little bit and finish up the topic, so do you have anything else you want to throw in before I go ahead and move on to, or continue on the points I was making?
Just basically the response from Israel is coming very soon. More October surprises on the line, and also November surprises.
Probably. All right. Well, thank you very much. It's good to hear from you, and I'll call back another day, and we'll definitely talk more then. All right.
Sure. Thank you, Dan. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Brother Michael. Bye-bye. All right, so there we go. Friend of the show, Brother Michael, calling in, giving us updates and opinions on that. Agree on most of what he says, clearly. I'm just very hesitant to throw any praise at Netanyahu himself simply because of the fact that he's a dirtbag. So, let's see, hedge enemy Iran aren't invading the United States. That's true, but they could also still fund terrorism and terrorist attacks, and if they get their hands like on a suitcase nuke or a dirty bomb type of issue, then that is something that we should all be concerned about. So, and speaking of, hold on, the Impeccable Living mentioned about him being a bottom.
Oh my!
Thank you, George. So. The feeling I'm using that a lot tonight, at least for the duration of the show. Anyway, but one of the things, again, that I want to talk about when it comes to the whole, all of the protests that went down pertaining to 10/7, and there's a Palestinian community here, a lot of people supporting Palestinian folks, and the people who are just generally angry at the ways in which Benjamin Netanyahu has gone after Hamas and putting a lot of innocent people at risk. I think too many people, like, while there is blame to put on Benjamin Netanyahu, you also have people who, again, just won't blame Hamas, won't blame Hezbollah for their roles in what's going on, won't blame Iran, because these people are basically Hamas sympathizers and want to see Israel wiped from the map, which is just a non-starter. Like, back in the day, used to be not the people who were Zionists would call you an Israeli hater if you believed in a two-state solution. Now, the people who love Hamas, if you say you support a two-state solution, they'll call you a Zionist. It's like, no, the word Zionist has lost almost all meaning because it means different things to different people depending on who you're talking to, what their political opinions are. So I think the only way you solve this is a two-state solution, or maybe even a three-state solution. I don't know if you need to have Gaza and the West Bank together as one. I don't know how they effectively operate, or how you effectively have one country cut off from the other without any real way to get from point A to point B. You don't want to give Hamas any more tunnels, that's for damn sure. So, Whisper Mason Zionists lost all of its meaning after the Matrix series. Oh, there's that too, because they called their place Zion. So there you go. But and again, apologies to Tosho. I thought I had pronounced it right, but I guess I didn't. Tosho Live. There you go. So that's the name of the show from one of our Twitch watchers. I don't really hear many people talking about a three-state solution. I don't know how plausible or reasonable it is, but I think it potentially is an option on the table, especially if you have the people who are running Gaza just can't get along with Abbas and the people running the West Bank. Then maybe, just maybe, it might be a reasonable thing to have a three-state solution instead of a two-state solution. Just call the West Bank Palestine, call Gaza Gaza, or whatever. Have that be the end of it. But maybe they could figure out a way to make a two-state solution work, even though it's bisected by the state of Israel. But there's a lot of people who are trying to make the claim that, Israeli people are simply colonizers because they're in a land that doesn't belong to them. But all of the rules of indigeneity prove that the land of that land is a Jewish homeland, and they absolutely have the right to return to that homeland. They absolutely have the right to claim indigeneity. We have the right to claim indigeneity because the rules of indigeneity require certain things, and Jewish people check off every box when it comes to whether or not they're indigenous to the Levant or what have you. Now, that's a new word that I actually learned over this whole course of the conversation, is the area called the Levant instead of having it be called Israel or Palestine or whatever you want to call it. So let's see. Two-state makes more sense as Palestinians can go elsewhere. Israelis don't have as many options. I mean, but there are Palestinian people who have lived there who got displaced. I mean, there are Jews also that got displaced. And that's another thing that people forget to talk about when in the whole people getting displaced argument, is they'll talk about Palestinians in Israel who lost their homes. They'll talk about Palestinians who lost land, and etc., been forced to move from one place to another in order for the creation. The two states that were created with the UN resolution that created Israel also created a state of Palestine. The Arab nations around them didn't want it to exist, so they attacked, but for some reason they didn't give the West Bank and Gaza immediately back to the Palestinians after they lost the war. So, but nobody talks, or hardly anybody talks about the fact that there was broad Jewish communities across the Middle East, and then these Arab nations implemented these policies that made it impossible for Jewish people to own businesses. They couldn't run a business without an Arab person being involved with it. They basically had their land and property seized by the government, and they were forced to flee, and the only place that the Jewish people could flee in the region was Israel. Because especially during the Holocaust, and after the Holocaust, America was turning Jews away. Lots of other places were turning Jews away. Nobody wanted Jews. So where'd the Jews go? They went to the one place they could go, Israel. So the world created this gigantic problem, and that's the problem. That's the problem that Jews faced over the course of time. Is that the entire world creates a problem, and then somehow finds a way to blame the Jews for the problem that the rest of the world created. The whole money changer thing. The entire world refused to loan money to their friends, but the Jews could do it, so let's have the Jews do it. And then all of a sudden, now the Jews are usurious bastards, so therefore we can't have the Jews, we can't have us people, loaning money because we're horrible for charging interest, yada, 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 blame the Jews. Same thing here. They wanted to solve the problem and the problem of Jewish people lacking home. Well, let's just plop them down into this area where there are lots of people already existing, and there you go. Here's the state of Israel. Here's a two-state solution. Mazel tov. And then all of a sudden, now we're to blame because the world said this is where you're going to go. You can't be a colonizer if the world just lumps you there, right? So, see, Canada accepted Jews late into the World War II and put them in Fort Lennox, an old fort with a moat around it north of Lake Champlain. Look it up. Interesting. Well, I mean, Canada is, Canada, not us, right? Yeah, Ichabod, exactly. There were Jews all over the Middle East. Once Israel was created, many were kicked out of their homes in Lebanon and Syria. Yep, and we've talked about that a lot. Lebanon, Syria, Iran. I think there's maybe 6 Jewish people left living in Iran. Or it used to be a thriving Jewish community. There used to be thriving Jewish communities in Iraq, in Egypt. All these other places had thriving Jewish communities that all were shut down because of global anti-Semitism. So, I love Jewish men, impeccable living. I don't know why. I think they're just so yummy. It's because we're givers.
Oh, my.
So anyway. Afghanistan too, and every place, all over the Middle East. Jews had thriving communities, and then they got squashed because of global anti-Semitism. Moon Girl, you know all those utopia pictures, they all depict a world without organized religion. We kill you in the name of Jesus. No, we kill you in the name of Jesus. Exactly. Tosho Live, again, religion is the effing problem. Again, why do you think I describe myself as a bad Jew? I am not practicing. My joke is that I've practiced enough as a kid. I don't need any more practice. Almost like an Allen Iverson. Practice? You're talking about practice? But yeah, you know, there's just a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I learned from Judaism that, you know, I think make me a better person. But I think part of the problem is that I think Judaism sometimes tends to be an exception to a lot of the to the religious rules because we're not evangelical. We are not told in the Torah to go spread the word of Hashem and convert people to the Jewish religion. That is not what we are actually told, that people can be good people regardless of what their faith is. As long as they follow some simple rules, that what they call Noahide laws, don't kill people, don't assault people, you know, generally be a good person. As long as the people are good people, then, you know, you have a place in the world to come under the Jewish religion. So, wish all religions could be like that, because then you'd have a much less toxic atmosphere. But unfortunately, Christianity decided to retcon Judaism and say, no, we're going to now convert the world, and we want to control a bunch of it through faith. So, Moon Girl, I was raised Baptist with the questioning heart. Also, they said I might be possessed. You might. Tia or Tosho Live, does the world need a scapegoat? Well, the world may not actually need a scapegoat, but they sure as hell find one very easily, and many times it's us. So that's what we have to deal with. Exactly. Jews are not supposed to missionize, but anybody can become a Jew. Yes, that's true. But you're supposed to be turned away. If you want to become a Jew, you're supposed to be turned away like twice. Like you have, because they want to be sure that you really know what you're doing and you really know what you have in store. Because, you know, it is what it is. They our kids do bowling, and my oldest son had this one person on his team, still has it on his team, and I don't know what the hell's wrong with this kid, but like he just would walk around and like he'd bowl something and be like, Kanye West. All he could say is Kanye West. Like, I don't know if he had some sort of mental issue or not, but he just kept on Kanye West. And it got to my wife about 3 Kanye Wests before it would have gotten to me, and I would have said something. And she was basically like, what is your deal with Kanye West? Because he's sexist and he's an anti-Semite. And she's like, we're Jewish, so we don't find it very funny. And then they took us aside and they were like, you really shouldn't be talking to the kids. You have a problem with the kid, come talk to us and talk to the kid. And I'm like, okay, fine. But, you know, his mom wasn't doing anything about it, and it was really pissing us off. But it made me feel kind of good that despite the fact that she hasn't actually converted, that she was like, we're Jewish. So, and I'll accept that, because not only is the whole Jewish by injection joke valid, but wait, hold on.
Oh my.
There's also just simply the fact that, you know, that she listens to me and understands me and empathizes with me as her husband, and as such embraces all of me for who I am and takes it upon herself as well. So it made me happy to hear her say that, even though, you know, we are both non-practicing people. You know, she's a lapsed Catholic and I'm Jewish, and our kids are cashews, in case you haven't heard that one yet. Ew, Jewish by injection, how down. I mean, I'm sorry. I can't let Impeccable Living be the only one in the chat who says dirty things, or Jeff. I need to have some level of dirtiness, naughtiness coming from me, not just from our wonderful chat people. See, when I had a cleaning service, I had one Jewish client, and it ended up with the right Jewish clients. They all just raved about me. I was so grateful. Single Jewish men just needed me. More ways than one, I'm sure. Thank you so much. Tosho Live gifted 5 Tier 1 subs to the Liberal Band Radio community. Thank you so much. You're awesome, Tosho. We're 8 away from the next goal, so that's even awesome. And we're on our way to a level 2 hype train. So Um, see, my mom exposed my brother and me to lots of different religions. It was kind of like Church of the Week growing up. My brother and I are both atheists now, just like our dad was. That's pretty cool. In the house in which I lived, when I was when my mom and I moved in with her adoptive parents, because I don't claim them as my grandparents anymore. But we moved in with her adoptive parents after she started going back to school. One of the things she was studying in school was world religions. And so she brought into the house a Quran because part of the world religions class you had to read some of the stuff from the Quran and learn some stuff about it. Oh, her adoptive dad was pissed off because she dared brought a Quran into his house. And I'm like, and even back then I was like, you know what? That's stupid. You know, you should be learning about everybody else's faith. I mean, I try and learn more about other people's faith as much as possible because that's one of the best way to understand people, especially when people allow themselves to be driven by their faith. So, hello. Expletives have their place, and this is one of those places. Thank you, Nick. Jeff, I ain't got any gutter stuff now. Janelle, over hour drive, so I couldn't drink. When he tasted that, he told me just take beers at will. Nice. Dude, you're conveying power to a printed book. Cat time. Yes, it is cat time. Hello, Rosie Posey. You are such a sweet little girl. Thank you, Aaron, for the bits. Awesome. As well. Aaron's always awesome. Let's see. Yay, hologram kitty. Back and forth, out of sight, into sight. You're gonna lay down. How about you lay down? Ow. Or not claw the hell out of my shoulder. What's up, Kevin? How's it going? Good to see you. She is purring away, let me tell you. Glitch kitty, yes. You are a glitchy kitty, and I do not want your butt on my head. Thank you, though. Yeah, maybe I should turn down the volume on the Twitch browser things to be able to hear what's going on. I have to find where that is. Ow! That hurts. That hurts. Thank you. Thank you for that, cat. You don't need to rip my boobs off, my nipples off. So, what you do, little one? It is a little jarring to hear the whatever, but at least it grabs my attention, so at least I know that somebody has helped contribute to this show. So again, thank you very much, Tosho Live. I appreciate you a lot for that. Phase Kitty level 2, armor class 0, 1d4. Natural ability acts as blink spell and can only be hit every other turn. That seems to work. So, Jeff Curry, I took ribs too. I'm more proud of them. Ribs for her pleasure? Sorry.
Oh my.
I think love that nerd, whoever said that. Yes, that was Whisper Mason over on the YouTube channel. So, let's see. So it is 9:30, so I've been going for an hour and a half. I think we covered most of what I wanted to cover on the 10-7 recap. We've covered, unfortunately, again, with the Supreme Court ruling, so to speak. It wasn't actually a written ruling. They basically just said, we're denying this without going any further into it. But we did cover how the Supreme Court is basically making it harder for people who might be pregnant in Texas who are facing dangerous pregnancies, making it hard for those patients to seek the care that they need because they're basically making it so that it's easier for the state of Texas to deny people in emergency situations to get the needed procedures that need, which means more people are going to have to find ways to get out of the state if they're facing pregnancies that are a risk to their health. And if we don't believe, oh, we got a hype train success. Look at that. Level 2, 51%. Thank you all. Open the hype chest. Choo choo. Button mash is what do we do? I don't know how that works. Yes, Supreme Court effery. Absolutely Supreme Court effery. 100%. Let's see, I'm trying to find this thing. I can't seem to find it. Oh well. It is what it is. We'll find it later. Oh, I guess we just have the remote button mash. Oh, that's just an emote by Lumpy Touch. Okay, there we go. That's what's going on. See, first time we get to new things I don't understand. There we go. I'm not sure they deserve to be hooked up to the national electric grid. Then Texas, get your S together. I mean, there's all. Well, that's the thing. Well, I mean, isn't Texas not hooked up to the national grid because they decided to go off and be their very special selves? And I used to use one of the things I'll admit when I'm wrong. One of the things that I used to talk about on the show was that I used to think that Texas did their power grid right because they basically had a grid that was. They had a grid that was basically run by like a public utility, and then all the electricity companies could sell on the grid. So there's no profit motive in choosing what parts of the electrical grid to bring up. Of course, that requires that you have a state that understands the importance of public infrastructure. Clearly, that's not Texas, especially with what happened in the winter that one year. But yeah, I think hypothetically speaking, it's still the right way to go about doing it, even though hypothetically it's the right way to go around doing it, even though Texas doesn't do it right. So Texas decided they would allow it now. Of course they'll allow it now because they realize they done effed up and they don't want to F up again. But I mean, what do you do? Like, what do you do in this case? Because like, for example, with EMTALA, you're required, if you're taking Medicaid funds, to accept patients in an emergency and treat them, including patients who need an abortion to treat their issues. So what do you do if Texas flat out is going to deny the ability? Do you just say you can't get Medicaid in Texas? You can't do that because that's going to harm a lot of people in Texas who need Medicaid. Because there's a lot of people in Texas who need Medicaid. So you can't just say you can't get Medicaid anymore. But then what do you do when you have a Supreme Court that's unwilling to enforce the laws and force the state of Texas to follow the laws that are more supreme than their own individual laws? So, let's see, Kevin Anderson, I found a new reminder by a country newcomer that said, get ready for the new single, Camel Under the Top, coming 10/11. I'm like, okay, interesting. I'm so thankful I'm not a woman. My best friend will not have intercourse because she's too paranoid right now. I don't blame him. And the problem is that, let's say you're somebody who doesn't want to have a kid ever, and you want to go get a hysterectomy. They won't do it. There are people like, well, what about your future husband? What if your future husband wants a kid? No, F that. Your future husband can go kick rocks, and maybe you can adopt. So, Ichabod Deer, Dems are spineless. Yeah. Impeccable living. I try to get pregnant almost every night. 3 guys tried to get me pregnant last night.
Oh my.
Again, I'm going to be making lots of use for that. Specifically for impeccable. That's going to be, I should just rename that from Takeo My to Impeccable Living Reaction. Oh my. So, anyway. Oh, I was quoting Lichtman. Okay. I figured you were. I figured that was a quote. But yeah, there's too many times where Democrats just refuse to fight. It's part of the thing from the newsroom that you know, a lot of times gets cited, where he basically was asked if America was great and is America the greatest country, and he basically said no and listed all the reasons why. But then he turned to the people like the Democrat and Republican next to him and told the Democrat, you know, y'all are spineless and y'all don't fight. You're supposed to be the smart ones, but yet y'all lose all the time. Then he turns to the conservative and he's like, and y'all think you have a monopoly on liberty and freedom when you don't. There's plenty of other free places in the world. Don't pretend like we're the only ones that have freedom, and a lot of the times we suck at it. And ever since the newsroom was on the air, we've sucked at it even more because we elected Donald Trump, who named people to the Supreme Court who have now put lots of things on the chopping block, not just abortion rights, but gay marriage rights and all that other stuff as well. Hell, Lawrence v. Texas could be outlawed, and then poor impeccable living, what would you do then? Whisper Mason, Texas, the state that stood alone in the dark with no internet connection. Impeccable living, she lives in Minnesota, though. Tim Walz is the best. He's our governor. And he is good. I mean, everything I've seen from Governor Tim seems to be he's the real deal. He's the cat's pajamas, or whatever you want to call it. So, let's see. Jeff Curry. Janelle called us the foul pigs, son helping big time when choosing the ones to turn. He said, hey, this one looks good. Can I eat it? I think Impeccable Living says that as well. Hey, this one looks good. Can I eat it?
Oh, my.
Anyway. Oh, you should get a Terry Thomas hello drop. Probably. My dear, I blame Dems who did nothing once the Iran-Contra hit the news. Pardons happened, Iran hostage crisis, prisoners returned for Reagan, Dems responded into. Yeah, I don't understand that whole thing either. I've never understood that. Because basically what it seems like is that there was going to be a deal on the table, but basically Ronald Reagan was like, hey, let's not do a deal when Carter is president. We'll do it when I'm president, and then we'll make things happen. And the Democrats were like, oh, okay. And didn't, shout about it and basically call out Reagan on him basically being a traitor when it comes to that. I will never understand why that was allowed to happen. Yeah, there are plenty of times where the Democrats need to stand up and fight more than they have. But one time we did stand up and fight is, whatchamacallit, last 4 years ago. 2020, when we elected Joe Biden and kicked Donald Trump out the door. But we need to make sure we keep the doors locked shut so it can't come in again. Nixon did the same thing with the negotiations for peace with the Viet Cong. Very true. And yes, Newsroom was a great series. Moongirl, Bruno Gianelli, because I'm tired of working for candidates who make me think that I should be embarrassed to believe what I believe. I'm tired of getting them elected. We all need some therapy. Because somebody came along and said liberal means soft on crime, soft on drugs, soft on communism, soft on events, and we're going to tax you back to the Stone Age because people shouldn't have to work if they want to. Instead of saying, I'm waiting for the quote to be continued from Moon Girl. Well, excuse me, you're right-wing, reactionary, xenophobic, homophobic, anti-education, anti-choice, pro-gun, leave it to Beaver, trip back to the 50s. We cowered in the corner and said, please don't hurt me no more. I really don't care who's right, who's wrong. We're both right, we're both wrong. Let's have two parties, huh? What do you say? Amen. LBJ knew about it too, but like Obama and the Russian interference in his elections did nothing about it because Republican leadership threatened to say it was a political interference. But they're going to say it's political interference anyway. Just like Donald Trump says that they're trying to, politicize the Justice Department and use lawfare to go after Donald Trump despite his crimes, justify the Justice Department going after him. But the Biden Justice Department has also gone after the mayor of New York, and he's a Democrat. So is it lawfare there too? I don't think so. But, again, it is what it is. So, impeccable living. Try being gay in the South. That's typically where he is, right? Anyway. Put nothing past them. They will lie, point fingers, and claim up and down as black and white. Exactly. Anyway, let's go ahead, and we are going to go ahead and end the show, though, because I'm pretty much out of topics to say, and I do want to go ahead and finish watching the game. Anyway, so that is the end of today's episode of Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. Tomorrow, Tuesday, same normal time of nerdydan.com, twitch.tv/nerdydan.com if you want to join us there. Many times we do get involved and discuss politics on that as well. It just happens to be whilst I'm playing games. Regular show time, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, here, liberaldanradio.com, twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. And then I'll have a better understanding perhaps by Wednesday as to what's going to be going on with the shows next week. So until next time, this is Dan Zimmerman with Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.